Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I bring you guys a brand new Pokemon Sword and Shield video today, and this is absolutely crazy and could change so much for the upcoming Nintendo Switch titles, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Sit back, hit that like button down below, subscribe if you guys are new, and let's jump into things. Someone recently discovered from the most recent Nintendo Direct and Pokemon announcement that autosave is indeed in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that is, what that could mean, and then we're going to talk about a couple other things related to Pokemon Sword and Shield, so be sure to watch the entire video. But here we are on Polteageist, who actually posted it, an article about it. I actually woke up this morning to someone DMing me on Discord saying autosave in Pokemon. I'm like, wait, what? And then I saw Polteageist that covered it. But basically, here's what happened. There's the trailer. This is the presentation here. And autosave is in the trailer. It is in the trailer. I'll show you guys right here. Here's a little clip from Reset Era. If you look in the top corner here, when this trainer walks into the store, it says now saving. And if we zoom in, you can see it does indeed say now saving when the trainer walks into the store, which means that this Pokemon Sword and Shield game has an autosave functionality that is going to save the game for you automatically at various parts of gameplay. Now, it's very likely that it's not going to be like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, where you can have multiple save files for kind of the same kind of game, just like Kingdom Hearts, where you can have multiple save states, essentially, that you can go back to. It's likely one save file, and it looks like it's going to save at various parts of the game, including simply just walking into this shop. This could be massive and have some pretty serious implications for Pokemon Sword and Shield, for shiny hunting, for competitive battling, and so much more. So let's kind of jump into it here. As Polteageist kind of highlights here, if there is an autosave feature and it activates at different points, it could keep it so you cannot reset for shiny Pokemon, depending on when the autosave feature kicks in. Resetting for different natures or IVs or stats on Pokemon for competitive could be removed. And then saving before a tough battle or an encounter could be something that you can't do because it'll autosave at various parts, maybe after the battle, maybe after you fainted, whatever. There's so many scenarios where this autosaving could be a bad thing. On the flip side, the good thing is it helps people who forget to save. If you're someone who's forgotten to save a bunch of times or whatever, you save a bunch of times afterwards, making sure that you don't forget to save or whatever, that's the benefit there. But there are some very big drawbacks from a competitive and shiny hunting perspective, as I had mentioned. Now, before I go too far in worrying you guys about this, there is a decent chance that the autosave feature will be an option. We don't know for sure, but it could be an option. If it's an option to turn it on and off, that could be pretty good, because then it's beneficial to those who want it. It's not, a hindrance to those who don't want it, and all is solved there. The other thing is too, and here we have this this post here on Reddit. I pulled up a couple different posts. This particular post mentions that there is a regular save button shown on the menus. So that's pretty big too, right? We know that there's a regular save button. We know that there's some sort of an auto save that's going to be taking place. But because there's a regular save button, that leads me to believe that there's got to be an option to potentially turn this off, or at least it's only going to activate at various times. It's not going to activate all the time. So it's just kind of a fail-safe for those who don't always save. Now, I can tell you, I've recently played a game called Lumion Legacy, which has an autosave feature. And Lumion Legacy, like, you could still shiny hunt, or Lumion, what is it called? No, not Luma Hunt. What the heck is it called? Gleaming Hunt. Gleaming Hunt the Lumions. When you enter the lab, it autosaves right before you enter the lab, and then you can enter the lab and reset this cutscene every time. So it still allows you to do it even with an autosave feature. So it really all depends on where those autosave points are. It wouldn't make sense for the autosave to kick in every time you catch a Pokemon. More so maybe when you enter a town or things like that. But again, all we can do is hope right now that there's an option that you can turn it off. I will remind you that in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, the options were a lot more extensive. You could change the volume, you could change the kind of the special effects like the Pokemon crying and things like that. You can turn off, choose to skip cutscenes. So there's a lot of different options that were in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and now they're on a proper, like, full kind of console. There's a good chance that those options are going to be added. So we can keep our fingers crossed for the fact that autosave will hopefully be an option, and you'll be able to manually save, as we do have a button here. That's the thing. The one thing I thought about with autosave that could be a possibility, that could be a positive, but I think it only works if you're connected to the internet. I've always said, like, for those who don't know, there's the huge hacking debate in Pokemon, right? That people generate their Pokemon and they're hacked Pokemon, whatever else. I've always said that if there was a way to have a completely clean slate where no one could hack, there was no way to hack, and everyone had to breed and train their Pokemon, there was no Pokebank or Pokemon Home to transfer and hack Pokemon, and their hack detection was 110%. It didn't just track things that were completely illegal, like Rotom having Hydro Pump and Overheat on the same set, but it also could determine if a Pokemon was created in a program outside of the actual game. Then I would prefer that 1,000,000 times over. I would prefer that to the current situation we have right now, where the majority of competitive Pokemon used are generated in some sort of way. Just because I actually enjoy that aspect of the game, and I hope that they continue to make that easier. Perhaps auto-saving could be a positive step in the right direction to maybe mitigate save file manipulation, which is essentially what genning is. It's editing a save file and the Pokemon in that save file. While I understand it's a huge tool for content creators, myself included, and people who play, competitive Pokemon, at least from an entertainment perspective, I never would advocate for it for official events. I understand that. I just feel like it would probably be a good thing overall if there was a way to mitigate that. And keep people from doing it. Ultimately, it just ends up people needing to be on the same playing field. So regardless, I think the best solution is that Pokemon makes it easier to get competitive Pokemon in the first place. So anyway, that's the autosave thing. Very curious to hear your thoughts on that. I've been reading a couple different posts on Reddit, on Twitter, getting kind of people's perspective. This individual says, there's a manual save and there's an autosave, so maybe they have their own different save slots. Autosave is for when you forget to save, and they tweak it to save at specific story points. For some reason, people think that autosave is going to happen after catching a Pokemon. It doesn't generally work that way. In an open world game, it'll save after every encounter. It isn't save every encounter. It'll save after a certain story moment or when you leave or enter a building or cave, or every 5 or 10 minutes. They're usually good at making it so it doesn't ruin the gameplay. So yeah, it's very unlikely that the auto-saving is going to be that big of an issue, but I am very curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So let me know there. Like I said, I think when I mentioned the whole hacking debate, which is a whole nother can of worms, I think that only would work if there was like a constant online connectivity, but I don't think it would be fair to make it so the game can only be played if you're connected to the internet, because it's not an online specific game. But anyway, we got a couple other things here that I thought were interesting. Maddie and my friend Game Boy Luke here. Maddie was watching Game Boy Luke's direct stream, and here's Polteageist, which was shown, and it's facing a Croagunk. And one thing that I thought was interesting was its HP was 9-4 out of 102. 9-4 was the day that this trailer was released on September 4th. There's some speculation that maybe 10-2 or October 2nd is going to be the next batch of information. I mean, it's kind of funny, and you think about it, you're like, that's so ridiculous. What are the chances that this actually teases the next game or the next release for a trailer? But, I mean, I feel like Pokemon's done crazier things. I thought it was definitely worth noticing or noting, because again, coincidental, 9-4, 10-2, I don't know. I mean, had it been 99 HP, then it wouldn't have worked, right? Like, I guess 9-9, I guess it would have still worked. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that seems very interesting. I just thought it was worth mentioning. I'm not saying that that's confirmed or anything. I just thought it was worth mentioning. The next thing I wanted to mention was this guy, Distant Kingdom, whose name I accidentally just clicked on there, which messes up my screenshot. He has been putting a lot of time into kind of comparing models and things like that. And if you guys didn't know, apparently all the models shown in Pokemon Camp of the various characters are actually just the same models from Pokemon and Me from 6 years ago, and that's got some people pretty upset. Obviously, this National Dex debate has kind of taken a whole nother life, and people are getting mad about a lot of different things. But it does seem as though these animations are reused from X and Y. I honestly don't really care though at this point. I'm so over this negativity and just shenanigans over like this National Dex controversy. I get it, and I get why people are upset. I've said it so many times, but let's just move on. Like, can we just move on? We haven't even played the game yet. Like, people are making these super like intense assumptions about how bad this game is gonna be, and like people haven't even played it yet. So let's get the game in our hands, let's play it, and then let's make kind of a concise conclusion about how we feel about the game. And if you're someone who doesn't want to do that and doesn't want to play the game, then just don't get the game. That's where I'm at with that. And the last thing I wanted to mention is this is a really cool post showing all the Pokemon that have made it so far. into the Pokedex, and all the green ones are confirmed, or for the most part confirmed, right? Like, we know certain things, like we know Butterfree is in, so we can assume that Caterpie and Metapod are in. So this is making some assumptions. There could be Galarian forms that kind of play into account here. Like, it's possible that regular Weezing is in, and then Galarian Weezing. So just the same with that, there could be a situation where, like, we've seen Quagsire, or let me give a better example. We've seen, I don't know, we've seen Sneasel, but maybe Weavil's Galarian. That's a bad example because we've seen Weevil. Trying to figure out a good example. You get what I'm saying, though. Like, we're making these assumptions that just because we saw, you know, Oddish, that doesn't mean, you know, Vileplume's gonna be in it, but it could be Galarian Vileplume. I mean, again, another bad example, but nevertheless. Couple things here to note. I see that Shuckle is not highlighted wherever he is. He was on a t-shirt, so we're hopeful for Shuckle. Also, Poliwag was also on a t-shirt. So we can maybe take a guess that those guys are going to be in it. But you can see kind of a distribution of the various gens that have been kind of concluded. This individual did it for us. 20 out of 86 Alolan Pokemon, 50 out of 156 Unova Pokemon, 32 out of 107 Sinnoh, 28 out of 135, which includes the Galar Zigzagoon, 24 out of 100 Johto, and 44 out of Kanto out of 151. So, very interesting. This is just about, what are we looking at? Like a third-ish, a little less than a third. So let's say 27%. This is about 25%. You know, this is a little like 22%. Maybe a little less than that. You know, this is about a third, roughly, a little less than a third. So you can kind of see about a third, and then a little less than a quarter. So pretty, I would say, relatively close distribution between the gens at this point from what we've seen. Somewhere between, you know, 18 and I guess 30%, roughly 33% or so. So I mean, that's a pretty close distribution of the various Pokemon that are going to be featured in this game. But still a lot to be shown, man. I think this is saying that there's 200 and something, 240 Pokemon right now. I'm still thinking we're gonna be at like 500 or 600, but maybe 400 on the min. I think 500 is probably the realistic min, though, because Ultra Sun and Moon had 400. It'd be unlikely, I think, for them to go below that number. I think we're looking at like 500 or 600, so we can assume that we're probably about, you know, about a third of the way to the full reveal, which really gets us quite a few Pokemon. But anyway, that's this video. I wanted to talk about the auto-saving thing. I thought that was pretty interesting. Sorry for the hacking tangent that I went off on. And hopefully we as a community can just start focusing on the positive things. I'm past that nonsense, and I'm just ready to move forward. I'm not saying, I just want to clarify, I'm not saying that if you have a negative opinion, you shouldn't voice it, but there's a way to do it, and then there's the point where it's like, no one cares anymore, because it's just annoying. Like, that's kind of where we're at right now. It's just annoying. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorcerer in the description. Hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.